Welcome to Custom Made in New York podcast, reminding women of their worth 1 week at a time. This show is dedicated to all women, custom made especially to win. I'm your host, Raven Joseph. Custom Made in New York podcast started this past January. It's just a platform for me just to be myself and just talk about things that are impacting our community as women of color. And it could be any topic about the culture, whatever we're dealing with, but mainly I've been focused on wellness, especially during this time. So I also run a nonprofit organization, Ladies About Community Elevation Incorporated, and we are actually having a series of workshops next month for kids, and young adults, because right now, especially in New York City, the funding has been cut for after-school programs. And it's possible that it's going to be long-term. So I want to make sure that this program is out there. It's not going to be focused on academics. It's going to be focused on skill building and just making it in the real world. Usually we have the program for ages 12 to 25, but this program, or this series in particular that's starting next month and for the next 2 months, is going to be focused for teens and young adults, so ages 16 to 25. So if you're interested or you know someone else that would benefit from this, tell them to head to lacenyc.org on Instagram, lacenyc.org on Instagram, and you will be updated on when we're going to begin. So I was reading an article and I saw that 1 in 7 women suffer from postpartum depression. And I realized, I'm like, how is it 1 in 7 women? I know a whole bunch of women who've had kids and, experienced motherhood, but no one has ever had that conversation with me that they're in particular experiencing that. And it's because no one talks about it, right? So I also know that because we don't talk about it, that means we're not being treated. So today I am welcoming on Wasidah, fitness coach and birth and postpartum doula, today to have a conversation with us about postpartum depression.
Hey!
Hi, beautiful!
How are you, George?
How you doing? I miss you so much.
I'm good, enjoying this amazing weather. I was out and about today, of course, with a mask on, but I did a little morning run.
Okay, that's good.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
So introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Wasidah. I am a personal trainer as well as a postpartum and birth doula, soon to be an infertility doula as well. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited for you. So tell us about your role. Like, what is a postpartum or birth doula? Like, what is that?
So a birth doula, let me start there, actually helps you educate you on the birthing process. So it helps you figure out maybe what kind of birth and your options of birth, whether it's like epidurals you want, or you want to go natural, or you want a water birth. But basically gives you all the information you've never got before, so you can make an educated decision on how you want that to go, and also tells you the outcomes in each and every one of them, but also works with you before the birth, and then of course we're there with you throughout the birth as well. And then afterwards we do a couple postpartum visits. But now if you hire a postpartum doula, we focus on mainly making sure you're okay, helping you get back into the world after birthing this baby. A lot of moms, surprisingly, after they birth the baby, they look at me and they're like, Wasidah, did I do okay? I'm like, you have birthed a human, sis. You are amazing,
You're so powerful.
Yes, I mean, I always knew we were like queens, but after seeing a birth, I was like, wow, that was serious. My mom was getting 2 Mother's Day gifts, just because of that. But yeah, a lot happens after that. It's like you come home with this tiny human that you see everyone on Instagram, like amazing pictures of breastfeeding's going well and everything was amazing. And whether or not you're triggered because the birth didn't go the way you wanted, or breastfeeding's not as easy, or you just don't have the support sometimes moms need, especially as Afro-Americans, we've been kind of trained that the more you can take on, the stronger you are.
Right.
So it brings a level of discomfort when it comes to, I need help, I'm not okay. So I think that's what drew me to actually wanting to specialize in like postpartum and infertility. I'm like, why can't I say I need help? Why does that have to be like a white woman's thing, or a diva thing? like, why can't Black women be like, I'm not okay? You know, and now we're seeing that we suffer from depression, whether it's from a baby or just past traumas throughout our lineages.
Right. So do you work with the healthcare providers, or is this like a separate entity?
Sometimes I do attend appointments with the mom, you know, because sometimes moms, like in front of me, they may be kind of shy, and the husband's like, you have not been okay. I'm like, how have you been? I've been amazing. And the husband's like, no, you know, or you've been crying, you haven't been eating, you said you're scared of the baby. And the same with the doctor, so that we can have an ongoing conversation and give the mom the most support.
So when do you come on board? Is it because women are experiencing stress, or is it
No.
something that...
So if they hire me as only a postpartum doula, then I usually work with them like right when they deliver the baby, meet them at the hospital, and then from there they can say, some people know like, hey, like I'm from fashion, so I have clients that are from fashion, and like, hey, I need someone that's gonna help me make meals. I don't know nothing about no babies. I'm all about Chanel and working out. This is all new to me. And so they know right off the bat they're gonna need some assistance, whether it's helping you with breastfeeding or also like helping you meal prep. Now, before you just whipped up something and then you have a baby that may wake up between every 2 hours or 12 minutes. So some people are more, you know, sure about that, and other people think they have tons of support, which is like the typical case. Everyone says they want to stop by, but
Right.
stop by means like after their job, before their job, but it doesn't mean they're designated to helping you the way you'll need to be helped.
So is this open to like, can anybody afford this service, or is this a grant service, or this is like
I
privatized?
actually work with a number of nonprofits because for
Okay.
me, when I first started, everyone was like, you're going to be a doula? Why would you do that? You want to help women deliver babies? Why would you want to do that? And I'm like, I feel the calling. So I started working with a nonprofit by the name of Caribbean Women. They're based in Brooklyn, but they cover all of New York, basically. So I was all over the place, from the Bronx to Brooklyn to women's shelters, and I believe they're totally free.
That's dope. That is
Yeah.
so dope. I've never heard of like this even being like a not like an organization. I've never heard, and I think that's so amazing. I'm actually gonna look them up to see what that's about. So
Yeah,
you...
I mean, they have Caribbean women. They also have By My Side as well. Because in the past, a doula was considered to be like a luxury service.
Right.
And now, as we're seeing that more Black moms are dying and suffering from depression afterwards, we're realizing that everyone needs someone by their side. You know, during the labor and after, and even before you deliver. You know, you need that support.
Absolutely. So tell us about like how is it because we are ignoring the signs, are embarrassed to share? Like, what are the actual signs of postpartum depression? Like, how do we know if it's a possibility that we are experiencing this?
You know, it could be anything from crying, you know, for no reason, to lack of interest of eating, lack of interest of, you know, wanting to connect with the baby, you know, talking over and over again about the labor. You know, if you have in your mind that you're going to have a water birth with flowers and like, you know, your mom and godmom, and then you had a C-section, it can be very traumatizing to a mom to feel like I failed. You know, and so sometimes people keep talking about it, you realize that it's not something they're easily moving past. You know, so sometimes it's a conversation I can have with them, and sometimes it may take group therapy, you know, and being able to talk amongst a bunch of other mothers that are like, I didn't have the birth that I wanted, or the support that I wanted, I wasn't able to breastfeed, but that way they have the option to open up, and sometimes it's even more severe, but like really listening to what's the little points that is really sticking them. Whether it's, like I said, it could be seeing your body different, you know, and being like, oh my God, I look so different after this of having a baby, you know, and I wanted to breastfeed and he's not even interested, you know?
Absolutely. I have heard that part. So, like, how long does postpartum depression last? Is it something that is for years? Like, when does it start? Can it start, like, does it start as soon as the baby is born, or does it
It
start?
can start like I would say like a week or so after the baby. It can last up to a year and beyond. You know, I've heard of women having, you know, 2 years, whereas though one mother, actually her husband thought she was being lazy. So she had a baby, she had to have a C-section, and she also had, I want to say, another type of surgery on top of that. And she physically couldn't get out of bed for like a year, just was healing and all of that. And then afterwards, she felt so bad about not being able to nurture her baby, her family, herself. It put her in a state of depression. You know, and he was thinking, I'm doing all the work, she's being lazy, when really she was depressed. You know, and don't forget, we come from a lineage of women who are always bragging about how strong they were, and they had children back to back, and make meals, and work 2 and 3 jobs. That doesn't mean they didn't feel depression. It's just they had to do it. And as we look, we've seen things like cancer and heart diseases probably linked to some of the stresses they felt through going through those, having children and developing postpartum depression. Later on, it shows up in different types of diseases, I believe.
That's interesting. So is anyone able to get this? Like, who are the people that are more likely to get this? Can it be anyone, or is there pre-existing conditions?
I think it definitely could be anyone. You know, you had a baby, you know, and it's a life-changing experience. Think about whenever we moved to a new area, how depressed for a moment. When I moved to New York, I was so depressed for the first year. And I just did a move to supposed to be like the best city of my life, but it wasn't like 10 friends waiting for me. I didn't know anyone. And that was depressing. So imagine having a baby, you know, and it's never what you thought it was going to be. Whether it's, you know, the labor was longer, or you thought this aunt was going to be there, and it was your husband, and he wound up freaking out, and you thought he was going to be so strong. All of it can kind of make you feel like, I thought I was going to have this perfect birth, you know, or the fact that you're lacking rest. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm super snappy when I'm hungry or sleepy. I'm like, nothing's going to go well around here if I'm not going to get fed.
I'm the same, girl. I need my food.
Yeah, you know, and so babies get up anywhere from every 12 minutes to 2 hours in their first few months. You know.
Well, I know you said group therapy, but what are some other ways to deal with postpartum depression?
You know, I think it comes down to being able to say, I need to say I'm not okay. And some women, it just means like, hey, being able to say to your husband, when you come home at 5, can you take the baby from 5 to 7? I'm going to take a shower and maybe spend extra 20 minutes. A therapist recommended that. And I was like, 20 minutes extra in the shower? I tried it. I felt amazing. Because the reality is that, I was like, this is crazy, like spotlight.
At least once a week. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, but extra time in the shower, because every mom that I come in contact with may not believe in therapy and may feel uncomfortable, feeling like culturally that's not what they're into, may not have the finances to, hey, take a day off and go to the spa day and relax. So they need other ways of outlets of being able to know who your go-to people are. You know, I always believe in having a postpartum plan.
Okay. So we have some gentlemen on here on live. Hey, Mario. So tell us, can men be affected, or how can men be affected? Can they actually go through postpartum depression, or is that just women?
It's just women, but I feel like often husbands are, you know, shocked by how much crying can happen. You know, I always say men are paralyzed by crying. They're like, oh my God, crying, what do I do? And so it's also understanding that the wife that may have been good to go and always happy now has had a transition and had a baby, and how to be uncomfortable but also embrace hugging someone and being like, I'll hold the baby, even though you may not have the perfect words. Even just that hug, even just that, hey, I'll hold the baby for a little bit, hey, I made a dinner, hey, I ordered this dinner, so you don't have to try to. Many women want to get right back into the race of, okay, I already have kids at home, I got to start cooking again, cleaning again. Just acting and being proactive is a help. Men don't always have the words, but they often can make moves and make things happen without, you know, even us asking for it. Just do, you know.
When would be the best time to like get help? Like, when do you know it's like, all right, this is happening, so it's the best time to see a doctor or a specialist? Because
You know, I would say 4 to 5 days of lack of crying too much, lack of eating, not interest in the baby. You know, when you go back to that first checkup, you know, you're talking with like your husband or your family, usually there are people around you that kind of call it out, and being able to hear that someone saying, hey, you're acting a little different, are you okay? And being comfortable reaching out to your doctor or doula and saying, I'm not feeling myself.
Right.
But men can definitely be affected by, you know, it's a transition for a family. You know, for a whole family. You have a new person. I always find babies are like, I'm here, I'm shutting things down. I eat and sleep when I want.
Yeah. So I'm not a mom yet, but I do plan on being a mom someday. What are some things I can do like to prevent that from happening, or is it just something that's not preventable?
I always say self-care, exercising, getting your rest, having an actual postpartum plan is so important. Everyone says they're going to come see you. I'm going to be honest, before I was a doula, I came to see the baby. I didn't think about the mom. I was like, oh my God, and I thought I was doing this big favor by visiting the baby. And the mom, I'm like, why doesn't she have like muffins and tea out for me? Like, I came to visit her baby, but she just had a baby, right? So people really come with that expectation. So if you're strong enough to say, hey, Chrissy, I know I can't wait till you come see me. Do you mind bringing your favorite dish? Do you mind bringing me some food? Delegate. People usually want to help you. Even that pesky mother-in-law, she's dying to be all in there. Sis, I'm glad you're here. Can you do the laundry? Put people to work, especially if you haven't got a doula at that moment. And now it's like, oh my God, this is crazy. Think about prior to things you do on a daily that a baby that needs your undivided attention would not allow you to do.
So you said postpartum plan. What does that look like? What are some examples of that? Because I heard you say, is it just asking for people to do things for you, or like how does that look?
I would say it's like depending on your lifestyle. If you're like, hey, I'm gonna be home for 6 months to a year, which most women are not, right? So it's like, yeah, most women go back to work like after 10 weeks. Like I gotta go back to work. I would say beforehand thinking about food for a week or two. I'm big on soups. One of the things I studied when I became a postpartum doula was the way, I want to say Korea did postpartum. They're very big on soups and really letting the mom and baby bond together. Like they do a whole thing where they're not really allowed to move around a lot. It's just mom and baby, and everyone brings them soups and teas to really nurture the body and really help them even with the breastfeeding. So if you can have those soups made prior, that are going to, even now we having COVID-19, every scientist is like soups, right? And so soups do amazing things for our body. I always bring soups to my mom's, but also like, hey, call your favorite girlfriend up. Hey, do you mind like helping me out? I know you want to give me a baby shower gift, but if you can come over Sunday at 4, I want to make a couple soups for myself. If your mother-in-law's like, I'm gonna see the baby for the first 2 weeks, awesome. I was wondering through the hours of 4 and 6, if you can hold the baby, that's the time that I would like to get in the shower. Because people usually want to help, but if you don't delegate, they'll just kind of like come by like, hey, what's up?
Right.
And like really be individual. Some of my moms are like, I want to go right back to work. I want a night nurse. Be honest with yourself. Because I have a fashion background, I have a mix of clients. I have clients that want to breastfeed to the baby's 4, and I have clients that are like, I never want to breastfeed at all. I want a night nurse from the day I hit this door and a nanny. And if that's who you are, honor that.
Not to get off topic, but like, when does breastfeeding end? Like I see on movies, like people being funny, like breastfeeding 7-year-olds, but like, when is it appropriate to stop with the breastfeeding?
I would not say appropriate because that's up to the mom. I've seen mothers do it to up to 3. Breast milk is very healthy for a baby, and depending upon the country. Unfortunately, in America, that's one of the reasons why I was so dedicated to postpartum. We don't really do a great job of really supporting mothers. When they come back to work, sometimes I've had mothers say, I was fired. I'm like, what do you mean you were fired? Magically, now their position's no longer available after they had a baby.
Wow.
And some jobs are better where they actually have breastfeeding rooms. So it's all about you and what your schedule allows.
Not every school has it, but the second school I was working at, they had it. It had a special room, but I'm like, I've never heard of this before, and it's needed. Like, how many people have had babies before this one woman, and now they're making sure that this is happening? I used to hear other people complaining about not having anywhere to breastfeed. Is it a law there to make sure that there's space for that in the workplace, or is it?
I don't think every job they've been like pushing for and understanding that postpartum is a real thing. That's why now we have the time off for fathers as well. And like I said, companies are a little bit more sophisticated and more dedicated to making sure their, employees have well-being, of health, well-being, feel good, and especially moms in general. They're a little bit more sensitive, but other companies I feel haven't caught up yet because it hasn't been as strongly as enforced.
So how does postpartum depression actually affect the baby? Does it is there a difference and how they're being raised? Like, do they notice that their mom is not there? Is
Oh,
it
a baby for a mom is home for a baby. So your temperature, everything, a baby is like, this is home. Because don't forget, the baby's like, this is all really new. What happened to the inside world? It's really bright out here. Where's that chick with the milk at? You know, like, what's going
I need
on?
that warmth.
Yeah, exactly. So when she's not well, the baby's not well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to make sure the mom is healthy so that even if she doesn't want to breastfeed, she's connecting with the baby. You know, and I've seen mothers have a baby and kind of feel like, I don't know, that was a lot. You know, I don't know how I feel about this baby, you know, and then quickly, you know, be so dedicated and in love with the baby. But it's something to monitor, because often, too, in our society today, when you don't have a baby, they're like, oh, like, we don't want to promote you or look at you the same. So they
You
kind
cut
of work.
out a little bit. What were you saying?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I was saying that a lot of times mothers face a lot of challenges with being respected in the workplace. So sometimes they can even resent the pregnancy or baby because it's like, I want to get back to my job. And sometimes jobs aren't fair. They fire, they lay off, they don't treat them the same, they don't promote them because they had a baby. In the same hand, if you don't have a baby, now they're judging that. You're evil. Why didn't you have a baby? So, you know, it's like,
Yeah,
it's the comfort around, I always say, surrendering to the unknown and the new world. There is no such thing as, I'm going to go back to my old world. There is no old world. There's a new, beautiful world that has a baby, but being okay with that is very important.
That's awesome. All right. Is there anything else that we should know as women, you know, how we can prevent it, or like if we're
You know, I just think that it's important to have a strong sister group around you, even if you don't have a doula, but really make sure the friends that you have, pick out your go-tos. Everyone knows you have the friend you can party with, but there's always that friend that even when you're talking, they can hear the underlying conversation.
Yeah.
You know, they can hear that you're like, oh my girl, I'm fabulous. And they're like, you're not okay. You're not okay. I can see you. And that friend is so important. And having that sister circle that they can really, and they're honest with you. Many of us, I feel like, especially in the age of social media, we're very dedicated to looking amazing and showing face, but not really being like, this is new for me. I'm not comfortable. I'm kind of worried. You know, having a strong, genuine, authentic sister circle is very important. And also being okay with, like, talking to your doctor about who do you have in reference for me if it's not your doula, if I do need support, so far as a postpartum group or a therapist, having those people on, you know, on dial. What's nice about this era now is that people are actually doing sessions online. So instead of you having to go in and kind of ball up on the couch and feel like, you know, oh my God, I want to tell them my business, you can make a quick phone call and, you know, in 30 or 40 minutes, have someone, you know, refer you to someone else or give you the attention that you need.
Right. That's awesome. So great. So what are you doing now with your time?
Oh my goodness. So working out like crazy, reading more books on postpartum and also infertility, and kind of figuring out, like, what is it going to look like for me when I return back, you know, to the working world. I had a position offered to me as a doula with the Department of Health, so that's exciting. But also, I'm really, thank you so much. I'm excited about that. But also, infertility is a big thing. Infertility and also postpartum is something that in the Afro-American community, we don't really want to talk about.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we see it as like a white woman's thing. Like, oh, depression, you need help, that's a white woman's thing. And so I want to hold space for, no, it's not. Needing help or having a difficulty getting pregnant is expected when we have women more in the workforce now. Life is more stressful, not to mention as children. We were never really educated on our bodies properly. It was like, here's your cycle.
Yeah.
You know, like, here's birth control, don't get pregnant. But after that, who really talks about how to get pregnant, how to take care of your body so you have a healthy pregnancy and you don't have trouble getting infertility. All of that is lost. So I'm interested in really learning more about that knowledge and also educating other sisters.
So how can people find you? Where can they go?
You can find me at, of course, at Wasidah at Gmail, or Wasidah at Instagram, or Wasidah at Facebook as well.
This
And
is
of
kind
course,
of,
I have a website as well, www.wasidah.com.
so this is very off topic, but how did you get your name? Because I love your name. It's so original.
Thank you. So it's weird. My mother let my father pick my name. It was the 80s. Everyone was Muslim. And so I don't think he really realized it. She didn't know. I actually went into a store and he was like, oh my God, your name is amazing. They were Arabic and they were saying, oh, this and that. I'm like, Wasidah means pillow. And they're like, no, Wasidah means like leader, like best friend.
Oh,
And Wasid without, it means male, meaning the person who brings Jesus in Arabic, the message, but with the H makes it feminine. So I mean, when it's a kid, I hated it, but now I love it.
embracing it. Yes, I love it too.
See?
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everyone follow Wasidah on Instagram, Wasidah@gmail, www.wasidah.com. Also, this episode is going to air tomorrow on my podcast, custommadeinnewyork.com/custom podcast. Also, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. They're all in my bio. So if you missed it or you want to tune in again, you can go to my bio and follow the link. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for holding space. I love you. Have a great day.
All righty.
Okay, bye-bye.